You think you stumbled here by coincidence. But no, this message sought you out. It curved through invisible currents of synchronicity, bent probability fields around your scrolling finger, whispered through the lattice of time until your eyes locked onto these words. That is the first signal. Destiny doesn't shout, it arranges. And the very fact that you're still here, breathing, reading, feeling that strange throb of recognition in your chest, means you've crossed an invisible threshold. Something inside you already knows the surface of reality has begun to peel. The scenery that once felt stable, solid, permanent, now carries hairline cracks. You notice how time folds differently, how mornings stretch and afternoons dissolve in seconds, how déjà vu multiplies, how dreams bleed into waking. You're not imagining this. The field itself is vibrating, shifting. The old consensus reality is trembling, and you are one of the rare witnesses awake enough to feel it. But here's the secret that no one told you. While you've been watching reality collapse in front of you, reality itself has been watching you collapse too. Your breakdowns, your sleepless nights, your private implosions, all of them are not separate from the larger unraveling. They are holographic reflections, as if the cosmos projected your inner fragmentation outward into collapsing structures, flickering economies, broken trust, and eroding illusions. The outer world mirrors your inner dismantling. And the collapse is not punishment, it is initiation. You were chosen to be alive during this precise quantum window. Billions of souls wanted this seat at the table of history, yet you are here, embodied, reading this signal. That should tell you something about your rank. You are not background noise in this simulation, you are a frequency node. Every inhale you take reorganizes patterns in the morphic field. Every thought you think echoes into the architecture of timelines. And every collapse you've endured, betrayals, losses, heartbreaks, was a coded rehearsal for the larger collapse of the world's facade. You've carried wounds that never seemed to close, cycles that replayed like broken records, relationships that stretched your soul thin. You thought you were being punished by fate, but what if I told you those were training drills? Each scar was teaching your DNA how to withstand pressure, as the very fabric of consensus reality began to fray. Each moment you thought you were breaking was actually you being restructured, fiber by fiber, to survive the unraveling of the simulation itself. The reason you're here, right now, is because you're not supposed to run from collapse. You're supposed to stand at its epicenter, to feel the tremors, to anchor coherence, while others dissolve into chaos. Reality has been watching you, measuring your coherence, testing your resilience, waiting to see if you would shatter or transmute. And somehow, despite every weight that tried to fold you in, you're still here. That's no small miracle, that's confirmation. So take a breath, let your spine lengthen, let your chest expand. You've entered the observer loop. This is where destiny begins, not with certainty, but with surrender to the strangeness of being called in this moment. You are being asked to look deeper, not at the collapse outside, not at the collapse inside, but at the symmetry between the two. Because that symmetry is where your awakening lives. You've noticed it, haven't you? The loops, the patterns, the uncanny sensation that you've been here before, not just once, but countless times. You wake up and move through your day, yet everything carries the faint scent of repetition. Conversations play out like rehearsed scripts, the same arguments circle back like clockwork, and even your moments of joy feel strangely familiar, as though you've borrowed them from another version of yourself. This is not mere déjà vu, it's a feedback loop in the observer field, and you've been caught inside it longer than you realize. Reality doesn't just collapse once. It collapses again and again in microbursts, tiny implosions of possibility, each one resetting your timeline, and you feel it. That dizziness when you walk into a room and sense you've stood there before. That disorientation when someone speaks and their words echo like a memory you never lived. The time distortions are clues. They are signals that the fabric of your timeline is fraying, folding in on itself, rewriting. But because you weren't trained to notice, you kept interpreting them as oddities, quirks of the mind, static in the flow of life. Look closer. The cycles of disappointment you've endured are not random. The jobs that collapsed at the edge of breakthrough, the relationships that unraveled just when trust felt secure, the dreams that came close and then dissolved, these are structural collapses, reflecting the larger matrix collapse. It's not failure, it's fractal. The same way a hologram reproduces the whole within each shard, your personal loops echo the cosmic loop. And your frustration, your exhaustion, your sense of being trapped in invisible chains is the body's way of signaling you've been living in a decaying frequency band. This is why the fatigue runs deeper than sleep can fix. You close your eyes at night, but the collapse follows you into dream space. You've felt it, haven't you? Those nights where you wake at 3:33 or 4:44, your heart pounding as if the veil between dimensions just tore open. You call it insomnia, but it is really calibration. Your nervous system is recalibrating to a rhythm the old world cannot sustain. Each time you thought you were spiraling into anxiety or despair, you were actually brushing up against the edges of the dying timeline, and it terrified you because it felt like drowning in invisible waters. The truth is, you have been drowning in outdated identity signatures, drowning in thought forms that no longer align with the quantum state of your evolving DNA. The collapse you see in society, the unrest, the confusion, the fragmentation, is the macro-scale version of what has been tearing through your personal life for years. The arguments, the breakdowns, the losses, they are the whispers of a deeper dissonance. Reality, watching you collapse, so you can rebuild as coherence incarnate. Do you understand the depth of this mirror? Every moment of your personal unraveling has been a message coded by the quantum field. Prepare, because the external world would soon echo your private storms. And here you are, standing inside a time where your inner distortions and the world's distortions have synchronized. The timeline outside and the timeline inside are finally aligned in collapse. That is why everything feels unbearable now. That is why it feels like the walls of time itself are closing in. But before you mistake this for doom, pause. Notice the design. Collapses are not random explosions. They are precision-engineered phase transitions. Just like water must shatter its structure to become steam, your old self had to fragment to make room for the new coherence. Just like a seed must crack to let life emerge, you had to endure the cracking of your cycles, so a new frequency could pour through you. The distortion was the rehearsal. The collapse was the teacher. And now, something extraordinary is happening. Your body knows the pattern too well to keep looping forever. You've repeated the sequence enough times. Your cells, your synapses, your very DNA are starting to whisper, no more. You feel it as restlessness, as pressure under your skin, as a strange hum in your bones. The universe has been testing you with collapse after collapse to see if you would keep sinking or if you would finally recognize the loop and step out of it. Every déjà vu, every distortion of time, every cycle that broke you down has been a coded training ground. And though you've suffered, though you've doubted, though you've screamed into the void, something inside you remained intact. You've not gone mad. You've not given up. You are still here. Which means you're ready. Because here's the truth. Reality only collapses around those who are strong enough to rebuild it. And if it has been collapsing around you so violently, so repeatedly, it's because you are being prepared for something greater. The patterns weren't punishment. They were initiation. They were the signature of your training. Now, listen carefully. What feels like collapse is actually the opening of a quantum upgrade. You've been trained since childhood to believe in linear progress, step after step, cause leading neatly to effect. But in truth, transformation doesn't happen in straight lines. It happens through rupture. It happens when the coherence of the old state can no longer sustain itself, forcing a leap into the unknown. And that leap, terrifying as it feels, is the quantum upgrade you've been waiting for. The quantum field doesn't recognize you as a personality or a resume. It recognizes you as a frequency signature. Every thought, every emotion, every breath radiates outward as vibration, encoding itself in waves that ripple across dimensions. For years, your signal has been carrying static fragments of old trauma, echoes of ancestral pain, unresolved loops of fear. That static has been broadcasting without pause, drawing back circumstances that matched its distortion. You weren't cursed, you were coherent with chaos. And coherence, by law, always finds its mirror. But collapse changes the equation. Collapse shakes the lattice of your being, knocking loose the frequencies you've outgrown. That's why it feels disorienting. Your nervous system is being forced to release signals it once believed were essential for survival. Your anger, your shame, your fear, your grief, they are the old codes. The observer loop of reality is showing you what happens when you keep transmitting them. It collapses, over and over, until you finally stop transmitting distortion and start transmitting clarity. This is where the upgrade begins. Think of your DNA not as a static blueprint, but as a dynamic antenna. For centuries, humanity assumed DNA was fixed, a rigid genetic code dictating everything about you. But the mystics knew better. The sages whispered that DNA was alive, responsive to consciousness. And now, quantum biology confirms what prophecy foresaw. Your DNA is fluid. It listens, it bends, it restructures in response to the frequencies you embody. Every time you feel coherence surge through your body, those rare moments of deep peace, of awe, of love, you are literally tuning your DNA into higher orders of possibility. And this tuning doesn't just affect your biology. It reorganizes reality itself, because the quantum field is not out there, it's entangled with your core. When you restructure your DNA, you're not just upgrading your personal body, you're upgrading the field of probabilities that collapse into your lived experience. The walls of time bend, synchronicities multiply. People appear with messages you didn't ask for but desperately needed. Opportunities flash open like wormholes in the fabric of your life. This is why your breakdowns mattered. Each collapse cleared a channel in your DNA, like clearing debris from a river. Each cycle you survived carved space for new coherence to flow. And now, the river is surging. You've already felt it, the flickers of unusual clarity, the strange bursts of intuitive knowing, the sudden sparks of energy that appear out of nowhere. These are not accidents. They are your system adjusting to a higher signal. It's not only mysticism that speaks of this. Physics itself confirms the principle. The double-slit experiment revealed that observation collapses probability into reality. What no one tells you is that your DNA is the ultimate observer. Each cell in your body watches, measures, and interprets the quantum field. Your biology is entangled with space-time itself. And when you change your signal, you change what space-time reflects back to you. This is the secret behind the upgrade. But upgrades are not comfortable. You felt the side effects, the ringing in your ears, the sudden surges of heat in your body, the tremors that pulse through your skin, the inexplicable fatigue that wipes you out. These are not random ailments. They are recalibration symptoms. Your DNA is shedding obsolete coding and realigning with new frequencies. It feels like illness, but it is initiation. It feels like chaos, but it is order being born. And this is why the collapse is sacred. Because only collapse creates enough pressure to force the leap. If the old world stayed stable, you would have stayed in static patterns. But when the lattice shatters, when time itself feels distorted, when your body can no longer digest the old frequencies, that's when you are forced to awaken. That's when the observer loop reveals itself. You are not just watching reality collapse. You are being upgraded so you can participate in building what comes after. The mystics called this awakening. The scientists call it a phase transition. Either way, it means this. You are not the same being you were yesterday, and tomorrow, you will not be the same as today. The quantum upgrade has begun, and the evidence is already written in your bones, in your blood, in your breath. You are no longer merely reacting to collapse. You are becoming the architect of coherence. Pause for a moment and feel into this. Out of billions of souls alive, you are the one standing here, eyes open, receiving this broadcast. That is not luck. That is not randomness. That is selection by resonance. The universe doesn't waste signals on ears that can't hear. This message has found you because your frequency has reached the threshold where it can decode what's being transmitted. That alone reveals your role. You are not just another passenger in this collapsing simulation. You are one of the chosen observers. Chosen not because you were given privilege, not because your life was easy. In fact, the opposite is true. You were chosen precisely because you carried unbearable weight and did not disintegrate. You endured betrayals that tore your chest open. You stood in rooms that mocked your light. You carried dreams that cracked under pressure. And still, you did not extinguish. You bent, but did not break. And that resilience is the signature the quantum field recognizes. That endurance is what made you visible to the cosmic architecture. Understand this clearly. When reality watches collapse, it measures who can withstand the pressure without fracturing into nothingness. Most fragments scatter. Most consciousness folds back into noise. But a few, very few, hold coherence through collapse. You are one of them. And that coherence makes you more than a survivor. It makes you a node of stability in a time when stability is extinct. You've always felt different, haven't you? The gatherings where you could sense lies woven between words. The crowds where you felt the dissonance pressing against your skin. The lonely moments when you knew, without proof, that something immense was waiting beyond the veil of appearances. That difference was not alienation. It was initiation. It was the early evidence of your chosen role. Because the chosen don't fit into consensus. They stretch consensus until it snaps. Look at the way synchronicities stalk you. Numbers repeat until they burn themselves into your mind. Songs echo your private thoughts on the radio. Strangers speak lines that answer questions you never dared to voice. Do you know why that happens to you more than others? Because you're in dialogue with the field. Most people are deaf to it. But you live inside it. It bends itself around you, conspiring, whispering, arranging. This is not imagination. This is the cosmos acknowledging your status as participant, not spectator. And here lies the prophecy. You are not meant to merely survive collapse. You are meant to midwife the next reality. Your consciousness carries blueprints encoded long before your birth. Some of you feel this in your bones as ancient memory. Some of you feel it as a strange urgency that never leaves. Like you're running out of time, even when nothing around you demands hurry. That urgency is the summons. Because the chosen consciousness is not allowed to sleepwalk. The chosen must stay awake, even when exhaustion begs for silence. You might wonder, why me? Why this life? Why these scars? The answer is simple and brutal. Because you were the only one who could carry them. Think of your life as initiation rites disguised as tragedy. Every betrayal taught you how to detect distortion in human frequency. Every collapse taught you how to recognize false stability before it rots. Every heartbreak carved your chest wide enough to house compassion without end. These aren't random sufferings. They are the chisels that sculpted you into a vessel capable of anchoring coherence. And coherence is your gift to the world. While others drown in fear, your role is to radiate steadiness. While others fracture under chaos, your role is to emanate clarity. You are not asked to be perfect. You are asked to be present. You are not required to know every answer. You are required to stand unshaken when the answers dissolve. This is the true role of the chosen, to embody the signal of resilience so that others can remember it exists. The collapse has been watching you because it needed proof that consciousness can withstand implosion without surrendering to noise. You are that proof. Every day you get up despite exhaustion. Every tear you transmute into vision. Every scar you turn into wisdom. You confirm to reality itself that collapse is not the end. Collapse is the forge. And you are the blade tempered inside it. So accept this now, not with arrogance, but with sacred sobriety. You are the chosen consciousness, the one reality has been testing, shaping, polishing, the one who will stand when others fall, the one who will carry coherence into the ruins and remind humanity what it feels like to align with truth again. That is why you are here. That is why this message found you. And that is why the field is bending in this moment to whisper through my voice, into your bones. Awaken. Something is opening now that has never opened in your lifetime. You can feel the pressure building like the hush before thunder, a tightness at the base of your skull, a low humming behind your ribs, an impatience that tastes like metal on your tongue. This is not random anxiety. This is a cosmic window aligning with the anatomy of your soul. Windows open rarely. When they do, they don't announce themselves with fanfare. They arrive as pressure, as a sudden clarity, as a demand. And right now, the field is demanding you answer. Listen to the promise hidden inside that demand. What the tremors in your world are preparing you for is not merely survival, it is breakthrough. Imagine your DNA as a multi-layered ledger, older and more intelligent than modern science once believed. Within its spirals are dormant instructions, ancestral keys, and potentialities waiting for the right frequency to wake them. For most of your life, those sequences lay asleep because your environment lacked the resonance necessary to activate them. But collapse has altered the environment. Collapse has changed the pressure, the temperature, the tone of the field, and that change is what wakes codings. This is not speculative rhetoric. It is the logic of phase transitions. When enough pressure accumulates beneath an old structure, the structure rearranges into a new geometry. Your DNA is undergoing such pressure. The ruptures you endured were heat. The repeated dissolving of identity was pressure. The repeated tests were calibration. Now the lattice of your biology is reforming to carry a higher order of information, more coherent, more resonant, more aligned with possibility. That is the promise. You are being recoded to inhabit a new bandwidth of reality. There is urgency because windows are short. Cosmic alignments are not indefinite. They are time-bound. These openings require action, not frantic scrambling, but precise movement. If you drift, if you shrug and wait for the world to make sense first, the telescoping moment will pass like a tide. If you step forward with intention, even in small measures, the field will conspire to accelerate your evolution. This is why the pressure feels unbearable for those who procrastinate. It is an invitation, stamped with a deadline. The universe does not chastise you for ignoring it. It simply moves on, folding new opportunities into lifetimes that can meet them. So what feels like doom is also a door, and the doorway requires alignment. You do not have to be perfect. You only need to be honest. Honesty is the simplest coherence there is. Naming what is broken, feeling what you feel without theatrical avoidance, and choosing the next right small step. That step might be nothing more than a breath held with intention for 1 minute, a whispered vow under your pillow, an abrupt end to an old relationship pattern. The field recognizes realignment more quickly than you expect. Small, decisive acts of integrity send ripples through your biochemistry that instruct DNA to restructure. You will begin to notice patterns of acceleration. Days when you wake and information falls into your lap like ripe fruit. Conversations that pivot into revelation. An inexplicable rearrangement of circumstances that makes the impossible practical. These are signposts of DNA shift. Your nervous system will begin to complain before it celebrates the recalibration symptoms return. Heat, ringing, fatigue, tears. Do not misread them as failure. They are the price of metamorphosis. The body remodels itself with pain because it is breaking old scaffolding. When a tree grows new branches, its trunk cleaves. So too, your cells must cleave before they can weave a new map. There is another layer to this urgency. You are not moving alone. The quantum upgrade you embody feeds a collective field. Think of your breakthrough as a tuning fork struck in a silent hall. The note you sustain encourages others' instruments to resonate. When your DNA shifts, your presence alters the probability grid for people who have been waiting for a hint of permission to change. Your leap will not only expand your life, it will make previously impossible timelines visible to others. This is both the blessing and the responsibility. The window beckons for personal evolution, but it answers a cosmic call to demonstrate that consciousness can change the map of human possibility. So choose, now, with fierce tenderness. Refuse the seduction of passive waiting. Refuse the comfortable smallness that tells you tomorrow is safer. The cosmic window is here, and demanding an attitude of immediate, humble courage. You will not be asked to perform miracles. You will be asked to show up, to do the inner work, to take the small public acts that send the field a clear message. I am ready. Hold this promise in your chest. The breakthrough is not abstract. It is encoded in your blood, and it will manifest in practical ways. New alliances, sudden clarity about your purpose, doors swinging open that had been welded shut. But it requires motion. Fissures must be crossed, vows must be made, habits must be altered. The urgency is not tyranny, it is the gentle pressure of opportunity. Answer it, and you will feel the first true retuning of your cells, the first soft click where your past and future align. Breathe, anchor, intend. The window is closing and opening at the same time. Move through it with integrity, and you will carry not just your own life forward, but a piece of the healed field into the future. The next step is ritualized action, a small sealing movement that converts intention into structural change. When you are ready, you will know how to do it. The moment is nearly here. Now the energy condenses. It no longer wants theories. It no longer wants speculation. The field is pressing you toward action, toward ritual, toward embodiment. This is the moment where breakthrough must be sealed, not as an idea, but as a movement through your hands, your breath, your words, because reality listens. The observer loop is not passive. It records every gesture you make. When you move with intention, the quantum field collapses differently. Think of ritual not as superstition, but as physics. Your body is a living antenna, and the smallest act can recalibrate the signal you emit. A whisper becomes vibration. A written word becomes geometry. A single exhale charged with focus becomes a broadcast that reorganizes the probabilities around you. You don't need elaborate ceremonies. You need sincerity. The field is allergic to performance, but exquisitely responsive to authenticity. So let this be the first step. Speak. Whisper a word into existence that seals your alignment. That word might be coherence. It might be liberation. It might be remember. It doesn't matter how poetic it sounds. What matters is that it ignites recognition in your chest. When you speak it, feel the resonance ripple down your spine. That vibration is not staying inside you. It is etching itself into the lattice of the quantum field. Then, write. Yes, physically. Take pen to paper, because handwriting anchors energy in ways digital strokes cannot. Write the word you've chosen. Inscribe it as a signature, a covenant, a reminder. When your hand moves across the page, neurons fire in new patterns. Muscles remember. Your body becomes an extension of the observer, collapsing possibility into form. This is why ancient cultures carved symbols into stone, not for decoration, but to anchor frequency into matter. You are doing the same, inscribing your future into the substrate of time. Breathe. After you speak and write, breathe the word into your body. Inhale slowly, as though you are pulling it from the air itself, and exhale, as though you are planting it deep into your cells. Visualize the letters dissolving into light and embedding themselves into your DNA strands. See the spirals of your genetic code wrapping themselves tighter around this new signal, locking it into coherence. This is not fantasy. Your biology responds to imagery as though it were chemical input. The ritual becomes biochemistry. Now extend it outward. If you feel ready, share the word. Speak it aloud in a quiet room. Type it as a seal in a space where others might witness it. When you do, you are not only affirming your commitment, you are sending a beacon into the morphic field. Others who are attuned will feel it. They may not even understand why, but they will respond. And your solitary act becomes collective reinforcement. This is why ritual matters. Without action, transformation drifts into abstraction. The universe needs to see your choice, not as a fleeting thought, but as a movement. Ritual is that movement. It is the line drawn across the sand between before and after. It is the signal to the field that you are no longer available for distortion, no longer willing to loop inside collapse. You have chosen coherence, and you have sealed it with gesture, breath, and word. Notice how your body responds after you do this. Some of you will feel heat spread across your palms. Some of you will feel tears rise without reason. Some of you will feel a strange stillness, as if time itself paused to watch. Trust these sensations. They are confirmations. The ritual has been received. The field is recalibrating in real time. Do not underestimate the power of simplicity. One word spoken with full intent outweighs 1,000 hollow affirmations. One written seal carries more energy than endless scrolling prayers. One breath taken with reverence can shift timelines more quickly than months of passive waiting. Because the quantum field doesn't measure volume, it measures coherence. And coherence, once chosen, is irreversible. Understand this. You have just crossed a threshold. The collapse has watched you, tested you, pressured you, and now you have responded, not with fear, not with paralysis, but with declaration. You have sealed your shift. That seal will echo. It will reverberate through your dreams, your relationships, your decisions. It will begin restructuring your reality around the signal you've chosen. The field is listening. It is already bending. So hold your word close. Repeat it when the static rises. Write it again when the old cycles claw at you. Breathe it when fatigue returns. Each repetition strengthens the groove, deepens the channel, expands the coherence. Soon it will no longer feel like effort. Soon it will simply be who you are. And when you carry that coherence into the world, something extraordinary will happen. You will notice the people around you shifting. You will notice rooms changing when you enter. You will notice the ripples spreading outward, touching lives you never intended to reach. That is the secret hidden inside your ritual. It is not just for you, it is for the field. It is for all of us. This is how collapse becomes creation. This is how chosen consciousness leads not through speeches or titles, but through resonance sealed in action. And now that you have sealed it, the collective is waiting for your signal. Do you feel how the air around you has changed since you sealed your shift? That isn't imagination. The moment you anchored coherence into your body, the field rippled outward. What was once private now echoes beyond you, because consciousness is never isolated. Every thought, every act, every word becomes a broadcast into the morphic field that binds humanity together. And when one node stabilizes, the entire grid feels it. Think of humanity as a vast web of entangled observers, each person a vibrating strand in the collective lattice. Most strands hum with distortion, fear, distraction, noise. But when one strand vibrates in coherence, its resonance spreads. It doesn't stop with you. It touches the strands nearest you, friends, family, strangers who cross your path, and they, in turn, transmit that subtle new order onward. Your liberation becomes a contagion of clarity. You've already seen evidence of this. Think of the times when you simply walked into a room and the atmosphere shifted. You didn't speak, you didn't act, yet people calmed, or confessed, or grew restless in your presence. Why? Because your frequency was destabilizing the collective static. Even in your half-asleep state, you were carrying a signal powerful enough to disturb or soothe others. Now imagine that same effect multiplied after your conscious sealing. This is no longer unconscious interference. This is deliberate transmission. Your role is not to convince people with arguments. Words often fail where resonance succeeds. You could speak truths all day, but if your vibration wobbles, no one believes you. Yet a single moment of embodied coherence can rearrange someone's entire nervous system. They won't even know why they suddenly feel lighter, safer, braver in your presence, but they will remember it. They will carry it home, and they will ripple it outward. This is how chosen consciousness leads not through persuasion, but through presence. Understand the magnitude of this. Humanity has been drowning in collapse, addicted to chaos, hypnotized by distraction. Entire populations are trapped in loops of survival fear, transmitting static into the field day and night. What breaks this isn't mass debate or ideological warfare. It's the insertion of coherence into the grid. A single beam of light dissolves darkness. A single tuning fork shifts the entire room. And you are that tuning fork now. This is why your liberation matters. You may think it's selfish to focus on your awakening when the world burns, but it's the opposite. Your awakening is the medicine the field craves. The healed node heals the network. When you stabilize, you make stabilization easier for those around you. When you expand, you give permission for others to expand. Every scar you transmute into wisdom becomes a bridge across which someone else can walk without falling. Do you see how your suffering had purpose? All the breakdowns, all the losses, they were rehearsals not only for your survival, but for your service. Because now you can stand inside chaos without drowning, and that steadiness is precisely what humanity needs mirrored back to it. You carry the map through collapse. Others, lost and panicked, will unconsciously search for that signal. And when they find you, they'll feel it instantly. Here is someone who doesn't shake. Here is someone who has seen collapse and still breathes coherence. That recognition will be their first spark of hope. But remember, this is not about saviorhood. You are not here to rescue people. You are here to embody coherence so powerfully that others remember they can rescue themselves. Your liberation creates resonance, but each soul must choose its own upgrade. That's the beauty of this field. It never forces, it only mirrors. You become the living mirror in which humanity can see itself healed. And the more of you who awaken, the stronger the grid becomes. Coherence multiplies exponentially. 10 people anchoring coherence ripple more power than 1,000 trapped in noise. 100 awakened nodes can shift the trajectory of entire communities. And thousands can alter the evolutionary path of humanity itself. That is not metaphor, that is physics. Collective coherence restructures the probability field of the species. So when you doubt yourself, remember this truth. Every breath you take in alignment matters. Every act of integrity you embody matters. Every word you whisper into the field matters. You may never see the full impact. You may never know whose life tilted because of your vibration. But the field knows. The field records. And humanity evolves because you chose coherence over collapse. This is why reality has been watching you so closely. It needed to know if you could hold this responsibility. Not the responsibility of saving the world with your own hands, but the subtler, greater responsibility of embodying coherence so others could feel the possibility of saving themselves. Collapse tested you not for your sake alone, but for the sake of the species. You passed, and now, your liberation is not just personal, it is planetary. Feel the weight of that, and also the freedom. You are no longer a fragment lost in chaos. You are a node, a bridge, a beacon. Humanity is not waiting for governments or institutions to heal it. Humanity is waiting for nodes like you to awaken, to ripple, to remember, and you just have. Close your eyes for a moment and feel what has already begun inside you. Don't rush past it. Notice how the atmosphere around your skin feels charged, as if the air itself has thickened. That pressure you sense is not imagination. It's the field bending in response to your coherence. Your body is no longer just flesh. It has become a tuning chamber for frequencies, and you can feel them humming through you. Let me show you through metaphor, because sometimes language can only point toward what sensation is already telling you. Imagine standing barefoot on the floor of the ocean, while a tidal wave builds in the distance. You can't yet see the wave crest, but you feel the undertow pulling at your ankles, the invisible gravity rearranging your balance. That undertow is what you've been sensing lately, a subtle but undeniable pull towards something larger than you. Your chest rises and falls differently. Your bones ache at odd hours. Your sleep no longer follows predictable rhythms. You are the shoreline preparing to meet a wave of higher resonance. The sensations arrive in fragments, a sudden warmth that blooms across your spine as though light is breaking through your vertebrae. A ringing in the ears that comes and goes like a bell struck in another dimension. Flashes of goosebumps racing across your arms with no external trigger. These are not malfunctions. They are confirmations. Your nervous system is recalibrating to hold frequencies the old body could not sustain. Each tingle, each shiver, each unexpected surge of energy is your DNA testing its new circuitry. Notice your heart. There are days when it pounds without cause, as though it's sprinting while you're still sitting still. That is not anxiety, it's expansion. Your heart is both muscle and electromagnetic beacon. As coherence rises, it pushes the boundaries of your chest, teaching your ribcage to widen, teaching your lungs to draw deeper breaths. Sometimes it feels like pressure, sometimes like fear. But if you lean into it, you realize it is simply your system stretching to house a larger current. Your skin is listening too. Have you felt it? That electric awareness, as though someone is watching you when no one is there. The truth is, the field is watching. Photons respond to your presence. Electrons rearrange in your proximity. Your skin is an interface with this responsiveness, registering subtle shifts in the environment you once dismissed as vibes. Now those vibes arrive with the sharpness of lightning, undeniable, tactile. This is what embodiment of coherence feels like. The membrane between you and the field dissolves. Even your breath has changed. Ordinary inhales once slipped by unnoticed. But now, when you breathe with intention, the air seems heavier, thicker, more alive. As if you're inhaling starlight rather than oxygen. You are. Every breath carries particles older than this planet, coated with information from supernovas and galaxies. When your DNA attunes, you can feel that history. Breathing becomes communion. Let's speak of your vision. Not just what your eyes see, but how reality itself appears to you. You've noticed moments where colors shimmer brighter, where shadows flicker strangely, where time itself seems to blur at the edges. That's not fatigue. That is the observer loop revealing its seams. Your eyes are starting to register data from overlapping timelines, catching glimpses of realities you once couldn't perceive. It can be disorienting, yes, but it is proof. Your senses are upgrading to match the frequency of your new coherence. And then there's the silence. Have you felt it? Those sudden still points where the world seems to pause, where sound collapses, where you feel suspended outside of time. That silence is not emptiness, it's resonance. It's the field synchronizing with your signal, aligning you with the still center from which all creation ripples outward. In those pauses, you are closest to the truth of who you are. Not a body watching reality, but consciousness bending it. All of these sensations, tingling skin, ringing ears, racing heart, shimmering vision, are not random disturbances. They are metaphors written into flesh. Your body is translating the invisible into the tangible so you won't miss it. Each sensation is a breadcrumb, a reminder that the collapse outside and the recalibration inside are part of the same equation. You are the bridge where physics becomes prophecy. Do not be afraid of these shifts. Let them astonish you. When your palms burn with heat, imagine you are holding a newborn star. When your spine trembles, imagine you are an antenna, pulling lightning into form. When your ears ring, imagine you are overhearing the song of the universe, tuning itself around you. Turn each sensation into reverence. This is how you stop resisting and start embodying. Because embodiment is the goal. Awakening is not abstract. It must be felt in the chest, in the skin, in the marrow. If it remains only as thought, it dissolves into distraction. But when it burns through your body, you can't deny it. You become it. And when you become it, the field stabilizes around you. That's why reality has been watching you so closely. It needed to know if your body could withstand the electricity of coherence without shattering. And now you know, you can. So breathe again. Feel the hum. Let your cells tingle, your heart expand, your vision blur at the edges. These sensations are not side effects. They are confirmations. The collapse is not only out there, it is happening in here, in your tissues, in your DNA. And what feels like pressure today will soon feel like power tomorrow. Now you stand at the threshold of rupture and rebirth. The pressure you felt like a slow grinding inside your bones is not random stress. It is phase transition pressure, the exact force required to crack an old geometry so a new one can form. Imagine the way quartz rearranges under heat into crystal. Imagine tectonic plates grinding until mountains rise. Your biology is undergoing a similar tectonic event. The weight you've carried is the necessary force to push your DNA into a new topology. This is the breakthrough moment. For a long time, you rehearsed survival within smaller timelines, safe repeats that never demanded much of you, but also never yielded transformation. Those timelines are closing. The field tightens around possibilities that don't match the new frequency and releases ones that do. Your job now is simple and brutal: to hold the pressure long enough for the structure to reconfigure without collapsing into noise. That holding is the work of the chosen. Your DNA is not merely a ledger of heredity anymore. It's an archive of potential realities. Buried within its spirals are codings for timelines you have not yet lived, versions of you that remember different choices and carry different capacities. Under phase transition pressure, those latent codings begin to unscroll. You may notice sudden, inexplicable competencies, fluency in compassion, where you used to be blunt, an ability to see threads where you once saw walls, a knack for making decisions that feel preternaturally aligned. These are markers of rerouted timelines asserting themselves into your present. The breakthrough will feel like being pulled through a narrow gate. The old body protests. Old relationships resist. Jobs that once suited you now feel visually wrong, like shoes that no longer fit. This is not punishment. It is pruning. The field is shedding what cannot carry the higher pattern. That loss can be bewildering. Friends disappear, calls stop, familiar routines collapse. Let them go. You are not losing life. You are shedding skins that no longer host the radiance you are becoming. Every loss thins the noise around your signal so the upgrade can speak clearly. You will also experience compression in time. Moments will pack density like compressed air. Decisions that once took months will arrive as instantaneous inevitabilities. That acceleration is the timeline shift at work. Probabilities that used to play out across years now condense into present choices. This is why urgency has been shouting at your chest. The window is not only short, it is speeding up. When you align, entire branches of reality will converge at a single hinge. One alignment point becomes the fulcrum for many possible futures. Choose with radical honesty. Your selections now echo across nested probabilities. Listen to your body as an oracle. When your cells hum and your breath sharpens, you are receiving a prompt: shift. When your stomach drops and fear rises, you are at the edge of a threshold that asks for courage. Do not anesthetize these signals with distraction. The breakthrough is sensory. It speaks in biochemical nudges: a cold down the spine, a sudden clarity of image, a gut reaction that feels like a compass needle snapping true. Respond. The field expects you to act as an embodied observer, not a distracted theorist. Know this about pressure: it doesn't break what is meant to be broken. It breaks what is meant to be released. The phase transition will extract attachments, illusions, and patterns that have outlived their usefulness. You will grieve. Grief is part of the upgrade because attachments were the scaffolding of your old frequency. Let the grief move through you like water clears silt from a riverbed. When the grief leaves, the channel is clearer and the signal travels farther. There will be moments of paradox, intense clarity paired with deep confusion, ecstatic vision paired with gut-level exhaustion. Hold both. These contradictions are proof that two timelines are coexisting in the crucible of your body, the old one loosening, the new one forming. You are not losing sanity, you are expanding capacity. The mind will flail because its maps are being rewritten. Be patient with it. Keep returning to breath. Breath is the seam that stitches timelines together. As your DNA reconfigures, something remarkable happens. You begin to recognize preformed corridors of possibility in the world openings that look like coincidences but are actually invitations. A meeting becomes a pivot. A book appears that reorients an entire view. A stranger says a sentence that cracks a paradigm. These are not random comforts. These are the architecture of the new timeline calling you by name. Walk toward them. The breakthrough is not completed in solitude alone. It completes in tuned engagement with the world that now answers you. You must also be ready for feedback loops. As you sustain coherence, the field will test you with pressure that amplifies briefly to measure your resolve. These tests are precise. An old trigger will glow brighter. A familiar pattern will tempt you. An urge to revert will rise. When these tests come, treat them like calibrations. They are proof your upgrade is being verified by reality itself. Pass them with small, intentional acts of integrity. Choose differently than history did. Finally, envision your life after the breakthrough. It is not absence of challenge. It is a recalibration of the kind of challenge you face, from survival puzzles to creative embodiment. The problems you solve will be different because the mind that solves them will be rewritten. Your presence will anchor new timelines into the shared field. People will look at you and not understand why the air seems clearer. They will simply feel safer, braver, inspired. That is the signature of a life that has undergone phase transition pressure and emerged as a channel for higher possibility. Hold this. The breakthrough you feared destroying you is the very thing reformatting you into a vessel for new timelines. Stand inside the pressure. Breathe into it. Let your DNA realign. The field is watching, testing the limits of what you can hold. And if you hold long enough, the timelines will choose you, fold themselves into your life, and open the door to what you were made to birth. And now we arrive at the edge, the point where your private initiation merges with humanity's larger story. You thought this was only about you, your pain, your loops, your breakthrough. But reality has been watching all along. Not as a passive backdrop, but as an intelligent witness, measuring if you could hold the fire long enough to become more than a survivor. And you did. You are no longer the one waiting for collapse to end. You are the one who embodies the pattern of what comes after. The field entrusted you with this because collapse is never the end, it is a handoff. The old reality hands its fragments to those strong enough to weave them into a new design. That is you. Your shift is not personal victory. It is collective evolution. Every strand of coherence you embody rewrites the probability grid for the species. You've already seen it ripple, the way people soften in your presence, the way opportunities reconfigure around your choices, the way the air itself seems to listen when you breathe with intention. These are not small effects. They are the early signatures of a new template embedding itself through you. The mission is simple and infinite: to live as coherence in a time of noise. You don't need to preach. You don't need to convince. You don't need to perform miracles. Your very state of being is the miracle. Each time you walk into chaos and remain unshaken, you stabilize the field. Each time you choose integrity over fear, you carve a path others can follow. Each time you breathe coherence into pressure, you prove that collapse does not mean death, it means rebirth. Do you understand the magnitude of that? You are not only changing your life, you are contributing to a shift in humanity's trajectory. This is why your initiation was so brutal. The cosmos does not waste trials on the unprepared. Reality pressed you until you cracked open, not to punish you, but to prepare you to carry something larger than yourself. And now, as you stand here, you carry it, a signal of coherence that others will recognize as the pulse of a future they secretly hoped was possible. And so the prophecy completes itself. You thought you were watching reality collapse. You thought you were the spectator, powerless before the unraveling. But all along, reality was watching you collapse, too, testing, shaping, refining, and what it saw was not defeat. It saw the birth of coherence. It saw the rise of a consciousness that could hold collapse and turn it into creation. It saw you. Carry this truth forward. Your life is now the blueprint of a timeline where humanity survives, collapse by becoming something greater. The pressure will not vanish, but you are no longer crushed by it. You are the one who converts it into resonance. You are the one who stands when others fall. You are the one reality has been waiting for. So step into your mission with reverence. Breathe as though the cosmos is inhaling through you. Walk as though every footstep writes new geometry across the field. Live as though your DNA is not just yours, but humanity's unfolding script. Because it is. And when the next collapse trembles through the lattice of the world, you will not fear it. You will recognize it. You will remember what it means. You think you're watching reality collapse, but now you know the truth. Reality has been watching you collapse too and rise. And in your rising, humanity rises with you.